Okay, this is like my third or fourth attempt at recording this. Oh, for several months. I've been trying to get around to doing this playthrough with Fandira, with the Araby mod, in Total War Warhammer 3, with a variety of other mods, somewhere in the space between 20 and 30 mods. I cut down on the amount of mods after, sadly, the Valmer Gausser playthrough I tried to start wound up getting cut off after about 5 or 6 parts by the fact that one of the mods updated and made the save invalid. So, cutting down on the amount of mods I'm hoping will prevent that from happening. I would like to get as much recorded today as I can, but I will likely not finish the entire playthrough today because it's a Total War Warhammer playthrough. They tend not to be short. So I'll have to come back another day. Ideally, there won't be a mod update in between to invalidate the save file. Ideally, neither will Thrones of Decay release and invalidate the save file. Nonetheless, yes, Fandira, Araby, I've been wanting to get at this for 2 months. A variety of things keep getting in the way, including, as you can probably see by looking at my channel, that I've been recording a lot of videos and a wide variety of games with my friends, which is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. They're good friends. I quite like them a lot. However, I did make this YouTube channel with the intent of it being a Total War Warhammer focused YouTube channel, and it has rapidly lost focus the more I've focused on playing with my friends, and I wanted to try and bring it back here with this and start getting more Total War Warhammer in. So, Fandira, the Araby mod, I have been so excited for it. For the year or two, the OVN Lost Factions team has been teasing it. So it's here, I'm playing Fandira. There's a variety of other mods I have. I've got a good couple of other mods that add new playable races. I got Mixu and Lost to Insanity's Noblar Hordes, Kataf Southern Realms, Ovians, Albion, and Fimir. If you look over at the Empire, there is Marienburg hanging out in here. So it's all very cool stuff, but I wanted to play Araby today, and I have not put in really more than 5 turns of playing Araby in Total War Warhammer 3 at all. This is going to be largely very fresh for me, as my past couple attempts as Fandira, like I said, did not get past like 5 or 6 turns. They were not very successful for one reason or another. So, yeah, Fandira, let's go ahead and look at her faction effects. She can choose between allegiance to the Tomb Kings or to Araby and get different buffs and unit boosts. She can, if Numas falls out of the hands of Tutankhamun's faction, she can restore it to Tutankhamun's faction and get some buffs. She has increased diplomatic relationships with Numas and with the Tomb Kings in general. She can recruit certain Tomb King units as part of her roster. I believe, similarly, the Golden Mages can recruit certain Tzeentch units. I believe out of the 3 Araby Legendary Lords, Jafar is the only one that has to be utterly reliant on just the Araby roster and nothing else. She gets +3 control in all provinces, which is, nothing big, but hey, it's nice that I don't have to do as much babysitting of new provinces. Increased hero recruit rank for Hashashins, always nice to get more hero recruit rank. Reduced upkeep for the Nomad units, which is going to be nice. It'll give more of a Nomad-themed campaign comparative to the more city-focused Araby of Jafar. The Lord effects are where Fandira gets strong, because this is all stuff that helps a lot in the early game. Ambush success chance plus 25%. In the early to mid game, you're going to be outnumbered a lot, and you don't get to pick your battles. So having a lot of ambush success chance means you get to be able to fight the opponent where you want. You don't have to fight a number that outnumbers you on their terms. You can fight them on your terms and divide and conquer. It's very good. Sadly, ambush success chance becomes less and less viable as the game goes on, as the AI starts to build more heroes and throw them all over the map. I believe the case is, I'd love for someone to correct me here, but I believe heroes will just reduce the ambush success chance of any foreign armies trying to ambush within that province. And as the longer the game goes on, the more heroes that are running around, and sadly, ambushing just becomes less and less viable. Ammunition plus 20 for the Lord's Army. In my experience, I don't run out of ammunition all that often. Every now and then it happens, though, and I'd like some extra ammunition, so that's nice. More than anything, the primary situation where I find myself really loving lots of ammunition is siege battles. So that's nice for sieges, less impressive for field battles. And the big one is Stalk for all the Nomad units plus the Southlands Warriors. Considering that 4 of the Nomad units are cavalry units, that's pretty nice. Stalk on a cavalry unit, that's pretty good. And I believe when I did play Fandira for about 5 turns trying to record her before, I saw that in her skill tree, she has a skill that makes every unit in her army have Stalk, which could potentially be pretty OP, but we'll see. So, yeah, we can also see, let's see, her start map is actually, I believe, inaccurate. It says she starts in Qatar, because she started in Qatar in Total War Warhammer 2. I believe that is not the case. I believe she starts up near Arachnus, north of Zorn Uzkul. Zorn Uzkul. Is that the name of it? No, I'm thinking of the Chaos Dwarf. Kadak Zorn, there we go. Zorn Uzkul is way up north in Chaos Dwarf territory. Good old Uzkulak. No, it's north of Kadak Zorn. That is going to put us in an interesting position. We will be pincered in 3 ways. To the south will be Kadak Zorn, to the west will be Setra, and to the east will be, added by the Musion mod, the Lady of the Black Grail. Of those 3, I definitely intend to be peaceful with Kadak Zorn as long as I can. I don't entirely get a say in it. Who knows? Kadak Zorn may pick a fight with Tutankhamun at some point, which I'm going to have to deal with him. But I'd like to be peaceful with Kadak Zorn. I intend to play a more good guy, Araby, which is what Fandira is built for anyways. To the east, I'll have to deal with the Lady of the Black Grail at some point, but in the early game, I'm not super comfortable with it. I'd like to build up some degree of money and forces before I take a shot at her. Setra, I might be able to cooperate with Tutankhamun to deal with him early, but he will have to be dealt with because he is just going to keep trying to press in on me and on Tutankhamun, and he's going to eventually try and press south and the west to take the cities of Araby proper, which I will want. I'd rather have them than him. So he's going to have to be dealt with at some point. It's not an easy start position, but I will say one thing I am happy about is that I made sure this time, I did not last time, I made sure this time, ordinarily I would have the Undead Legion mod, the Nagash's Undead Legion mod, on by Urgat and a variety of other people, but Urgat is the one that's the name that's usually shown with it. And I turned that mod off, even though I ordinarily play with it, because Nagash, starting out in Nagash's Ars, tends to quickly eat the entirety of the Badlands and the Southlands. And I do not think that I am warmed up enough mentally. I do not think that I think I've got a lot of rust to shake off here, because I've been playing so many other games in the meantime. I need to shake off the rust before I can feel really comfortable playing Total War against some of the really strong factions. I'm glad to have Nagash out of the picture, and I'm going to be starting far enough away from a lot of the other big threats on the map, like Grimgor, Festus, Malekith, and so on. Though I believe I hear Malekith nowadays gets hamstrung pretty quickly by Mother Astankia, now that she's on the map. So, that's enough of the little startup there. Let's go ahead and play. So yes, the Araby mod, which was, So they made it clear, of course, during the transition from Warhammer 2 to Warhammer 3, that the Ovian team made it clear they were going to bring over their mods, and they started up the hype cycle for Araby, showing off the entirely remade from the ground up Araby they were doing, and how gorgeous it was. And I've been so excited for it ever since, because I love the cultures on the fringe of the Warhammer world that don't get so much love for Game Workshop. I love the Araby, I love Amazons, I love Albion, I love Nippon, I love Cathay. Finally, Cathay got some love, official love from Games Workshop, thank God. And Araby, as done by the OVN Lost Factions team, is just so unique. It's so visually interesting. But it still fits into the Warhammer world very well. They did an excellent job with it. Now, I did play Araby in Warhammer 2 for a decent length of time, as Fandira, again, there. And my memory is that they did have a rough early game, or Fandira definitely does. Even in Warhammer 2, she was surrounded by much more powerful foes than herself. But once you got to the races, really, and you started to get up a coffee trading empire, Araby got pretty profitable, and you got to have a rather healthy life down south. So we're perhaps going to struggle quite a bit in the early goings. I hopefully will be up to the task, and we will break on through to having a more safe, consistent livelihood, and we will be throwing our weight around more and more significant conflicts. So let's see here. Yes, we got this opening. Yeah, we get to hear about the Grand Bazaar, the Urban Elite versus Nomad Chief conflict, and the Fandira's Allegiance mechanic. Let's get rid of that. Now we start off fighting the Greenskins of Arachnus here in Granite Massif, and then going down to Mount Arachnus, and down here there's another settlement that belongs to them. Now, when I tried to play Fandira last, I forgot that Mount Arachnus and the other settlement down here existed, and I picked a fight with the Lady of the Black Grail almost immediately after taking Granite Massif, which was a tremendous mistake that I will not be making today. Now, we start with ownership of Karag Orod, which is a not too impressive settlement, but it does have obsidian and it has a landmark building. The Crypt of Abdul bin Rashid. The Necromancer, I believe he is supposed to have wrote one of the Books of the Dead that's major to Vampire Count lore. And we start off with a Nomad building already, getting access to Nomad Lancers, Camel Lancers. And as we move up, we'll get access to more of the Camel units, and then eventually the Hippo Monstrous Cavalry, which is amazing. I love it. We'll go ahead and upgrade this particular building so we can get access to Camel Archers. And our next building we'll go ahead and get up. We could probably stand to set up growth so that we can get access to higher tiers of the city and more units sooner rather than later. We get a Hashashin hero from the jump. Lena bint al-Malik. Now, I heard that voice actor. I couldn't tell what they were saying or what the accent they were using. But sadly, the Araby mod was effectively like one of the very first mods to introduce voice acting to Total War Warhammer modding, which is pretty cool. Sadly, it's only for the male characters and the male units. The female characters and units are still using lines recycled from vanilla Total War Warhammer, which means that while I am not listening, they're probably making reference to Kislev or something. I'm curious. Maybe they've added it in the meantime. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. For the starting army, yes, we have Fandira, who's going to be a more ranged-focused lord. Her melee stats aren't terrible. Well, they aren't even really bad, but they're nothing exceptional, so I don't want to risk her in a brawl with an orc war boss who will beat her up. The Hashashin is similar with less range and with poison. I'm now noticing, actually... Really? Okay. Fandira actually has a bonus versus infantry in melee, and a bonus versus large at range. Curious. Let's actually compare here. Ooh, the melee stats of the Orc Warboss aren't so crazy. He's got the advantage in, let's see. He's actually not that much better. Okay, yeah, they definitely have added voice acting for the chicks. I just heard Fandira make reference to the Phoenix Court. Yeah, comparing the stats here, 85 leadership, 50 armor. He's probably going to have the advantage in armor. Yeah, 70 armor, but that's not too crazy. I misremembered this. I thought Fandira was a lot squishier than she is. No, she's actually not too shabby in melee. She can take on this Orc War Boss, which is important because Orc War Bosses are on the beefier side for lords, at least in the early game, and so they can sometimes present a problem. Beyond him, this is a not too crazy army. Orc boys, they're above the median line for early game infantry, but nothing to be frightened of, really. Goblin Wolf Riders, kind of a joke under the AI's use. You put them in the hands of a player, Goblin Wolf Riders can be a very quality unit and very cheap. In the hands of the AI, a little bit less impressive. Squig Herd, high damage, but they're pretty squishy. We can scare them off the field pretty easy just shooting at them. Spider Hatchlings, effectively a joke. While on our own army, it's not too shabby here. We have Arabian Spearmen, who are going to be unremarkable. They're pretty well comparable to the Empire's own infantry, so just the median line, so to speak. Like, if the Orc boys are above the median line, they are the median line. But we get Jezzails, which are a longer-ranged version of handgunners, so that's quite nice. Nomad Trackers, who are going to be a fast skirmishing unit. Yeah, 36 speed, that's a little bit faster than really any non-Skaven or Beastman infantry unit. Regular-ass Arabian Bowmen. The Wogzen, who are going to be a monstrous cavalry unit, and a pretty hard-hitting one at that. 68 charge bonus, nothing too shabby. And Desert Riders, a very fast, very skirmishy cavalry unit, who at 92 speed should outpace everything in this army. Let's see. Yeah, the Spider Hatchlings... Oh, no, they don't. They're at the same speed as Goblin Wolf Riders, so I can't expose the Desert Riders too quickly. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Now, let's see. What is the map going to look like? Not that it really matters, but just like to get... Yeah, pretty plain open field. He's got the forest side advantage, which I'd prefer to have that myself. But, well, he's not got any large unit. Well, he does have a large unit here, the Squig Herd. But other than that, not really any large... Oh, right, Goblin Wolf Riders are also a large unit. But other than that, like, I don't really need to fight in the forests to go against their large. As a matter of fact, my large units are more significant than theirs, so... Yeah, fighting in the forest would not be to my advantage, but I'd still appreciate it for the ability to cover my approach. Well, they don't have any ranged units. What am I thinking about? I'm getting warmed up here. I'm getting mentally warmed up here, back into the swing of things here. This will not be a bad fight. I doubt we'll take many casualties. We may take a few more casualties actually attacking the settlement proper, as they do have the generic greenskin garrison does have quite a few goblins, and I'm sure there's a way to beat them easily, but my brain doesn't always work properly, and so sometimes in a big infantry grind you just take casualties. It's the way it is. Okay, let's see. Now, a good chunk of my army has stalk because they're nomad units. Look at this map. This is a cool map. I like how there's maps that can work for both Lustria and for the Southern Southlands, or the Southlands jungles, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, let's see. If we can force them to fight uphill, then we will want to make them fight uphill. So, let's see here. What is with that tree texture? Oh, interesting. What do I have tree detail set to in the graphics menu? Interesting. When did my graphics settings get lowered? Well, I'll fix that between recordings. But nonetheless, I can't complain about increased frame rate. Now, let's see. Is the unit detail fine? Am I going to have... They're not all the same guy. Okay, so that is one thing that always bugs me with when the game defaults to low graphics settings. Is that it will make every man in each unit look like the same dude. Nonetheless, I do find it very amusing that some of the trees have now been turned into Doom sprites. Look at that. I actually kind of like that, honestly. There's a certain character there that I like. I'm hearing that Doom's Gates playing in my head. I like it. There's a delightful old game kitschiness to it. But yeah, let's see. Maybe I'll leave the graphics kind of bad. Maybe it's more amusing that way. There's a certain je ne sais quoi to it. Okay, let's see. Let's throw these guys down. No, where's the actual hill? We want them to fight at the worst angle possible. You want the enemy to have to fight as directly upwards as possible. So if there's like you want to fight where the slope is steepest. Let's see. It looks like a pretty smooth going hill all throughout, really. This looks maybe a little bit tad steeper here. So yeah, maybe we'll do it there. Yeah, that'll be it. That'll be it. The Nomad Trekkers we could send out to skirmish, but I'd rather not have them run afoul of the Goblin Wolf Riders. So we will not be sending them out to skirmish. The Desert Riders, though, I can get away with having them skirmish. And so I shall. Let's see. Other than that, Fandira and the Hashashin will be put close enough to the front lines. As a matter of fact, we'll put them on the front lines. That way they can seek out the Orc War Boss and kill him sooner rather than later. Let's see. The Jezzails we will keep somewhere on the flanks. Let's actually put them in concert with the Hippo Riders so that the Hippo Riders can protect them. Gunpowder units, I really like to use them as flanking units because they can do so much damage if they have a clear shot at the enemy. But you do want somebody to protect them if they're on the flanks because they're almost never any good in melee. Okay, let's see. Do we have any abilities here to be concerned about? No, we do not. By the way, I wanted to look. Let's take a look at this army. Yeah, it's definitely lower graphical detail on a lot of the textures. And you can tell by looking at Fandira's face, it's a little... Oh, no, actually, it's fine. I was just looking at a bad angle. Yeah, the lighting was a little messy. Sometimes Total War Warhammer's lighting is just oddly not generous. Yeah, the army's looking good here. With the relatively low graphical standards, at least. Okay. Let us go ahead and get a skirmish in. The Nomad Riders, they are not anti-large. Interesting. I thought they were anti-large because they had javelins. Okay, let's not run too fast, boys. No need to expend your stamina that much. And they are going to get in and start pelting the Squig Herd. The Squig Herd and the Orc Boys are probably the two most dangerous units here. I'll set them to skirmish mode, which is usually a bad idea, but just in case I get caught sleeping, they won't be too exposed to the Wolf Riders. Let's see, we got the Spiders, we got Squigs, we got Orc Boys. Pretty small, unimpressive little army here. Not too crazy to see on the field of battle. Very much a sort of skirmish army here. Okay, let's speed up that time so we can get right to the fun parts. Okay, and there we go. I'll turn off skirmish mode because I was not sleeping. Sometimes you just gotta be careful to make sure that there isn't anything that'll distract you and cause you to lose a unit. But nothing was distracting me, so hey. Better to put it on and not need it than to need it and not put it on, I guess. Oh, I actually made a thin formation by holding right-click a little bit too long. Now, let's see here. We're going to want to drag them towards my army. And the archers will help with this. Now, we don't want the archers to... We don't want the spiders to get into melee with the archers. They do have the ability to cover me on my flanks. Let's go ahead and charge in. Get into some melee here. Alright, and let's keep the Desert Riders on the move here. This is solid voice acting, actually. I was a bit worried. For how the voice acting would turn out. But no, it's actually pretty solid. Okay, let's see. Now, it does look like... I wouldn't worry about it. Okay. Yeah, a little bit of the squigs are trying to hit me. But it's not really that much to be concerned about. Let's see. The Jezzails will go ahead and hit the Orc boss. Yeah, Fandira and the Hashashin keep shooting. Especially since Fandira has anti-large. Well, really, no, they're wasting their time. They should be going just for the Orc boss. Where are my Desert Riders going? Oh, there we go. A little bit of an odd frame drop. Don't know what happened there. Let's get them out. They're dug in a little bit too much against these squigs. Let's get our Lord and Hero to attack the war boss in melee. There's still a Desert Rider stuck here. The Orc boys have decided to attack my Desert Riders instead of the rest of my army. A curious choice that will not pay off for them. Well, let's go ahead. Oh, well, we didn't even have to use the hippos. How about that? Pretty low losses here, I'm glad to say. Let's leave the war boss alone. If we beat him up too much, he'll... if memory serves, the way it works, at least some of the time, is that if a lord or hero dies during a battle, he will be replaced, which will cause the army to not be destroyed in a situation where they ordinarily would be. Where are these hippos running? They're running after the squigs. Fair enough. Let's see. Let's get after these orc boys, because these orc boys I'd prefer not to have to deal with in the future. And let's go ahead and speed up the rest of it. There we go. And we will let the... Let's see. It's worth it to play this out after battle regardless, just for the free XP. And it does seem like you get more money as well. No, that makes sense, right? Because the captive system. So the more captives you get, the more XP and the more money you can get. So it's worth it to play that out always. Even in a situation where you have just won like a siege battle and you don't have to worry about what casualties the enemy has after the battle. But this being a field battle in particular, that's pretty important. If I did have to fight this army again, if by some chance either that lord survived or he's been replaced by a new lord, it's not going to be a problem at all to fight some wolf riders and some spider riders. I eliminated the right units. The desert riders took more damage than I anticipated. It was a little bit bold of me to charge them into melee in that situation, but I wanted to make sure that the spiders and the squigs would get frightened off and not go to attack my archers, as the archers can be really vulnerable in melee. More so than Skirmish Cav in a lot of situations. Skirmish Cav is generally a little bit better in melee than your standard archer. And 84 kills on a unit of Skirmish Cavalry is certainly nothing to sneeze at. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out with that. I think it was worth it, all the choices I made there. Let's see here. We can either execute the captives for XP. Who cares about 100 XP? It's literally never useful. If you want faster XP on your units, just get a hero with training, now that they've buffed training. Okay, we can either get massive replenishment that will utterly refill my desert riders, or I can get $2. I will take the replenishment, sir. We also got the Iron Curse icon, plus 10% missile resistance. One of the worst items in the game, if you ask me, but I'm glad to have a item rather than no items. Let's see, we did not even get a level up off of that. Wow, that's how small that starter army was, huh? I guess things are a little messy here because Arachnos is the first enemy of both Fandira and the Lady of the Black Grail. And we're getting to move before she does, so nice for us, bad for her. Let's see, and with Fandira, we will be going ahead and hitting Granite Massif. Do they start with this starting army being able to reinforce? They do not. Well, then we will help ourselves to this settlement. Let us see here. Orc boys, goblins, goblin archers, and goblin wolf riders. Pretty boring army of a lot of infantry, so definitely a situation where I don't have to worry too much about being outmaneuvered here. Even the Goblin Wolf Riders, I could send the Hippos out with the Desert Riders to deal with them pretty easily. Pretty standard little fight between the trees here. Nothing too complex for geography. There is a little bit of raised land on either of our sides that I can take advantage of to force the enemy to fight uphill. So that will be quite nice. Okay, and this is a very Araby-looking map. Yeah, get a load of this. This looks like a modded map. The fact that I can... This big stretch of empty looks more like a modded map, because sometimes they have to with modded maps. Anyways, let us see here. Yeah, this... Oh, this is actually a really flat map. Huh. Okay, let's see here. We will be moving the infantry formation over here to up the hill a little bit. Let's see, can we get it? We're from the ground view, we could probably get a better look at what the topography is. Yeah, this is not really geography that matters. This doesn't matter. So, let's see here. We can go ahead and take out the Goblin Wolf Riders. I would rather... Let's see here. With only the Goblin Wolf Riders, I think I can take them out early and not have to worry about protecting the Jezzails so much. So, let's do that. Yeah, we'll draw them out with the Desert Riders and then have the Hippos kill them. The rest of the army will just sit back here and wait for the Orcs to approach. Unless... Nah, the terrain doesn't matter. Not so much. It's not significant terrain. Let us see here. We will be sending these folks both up to here, let's say. And we will be having them not run. No need to spend the stamina on that. Stamina matters, especially for cavalry and for elite units. As the higher your stats are, the harder they get hit by the stamina system, by the fatigue system. So you gotta be mindful of that. Okay, let's let the Hippos catch up. Okay, let us go ahead and hit these Goblin Wolf Riders. Lob some javelins in their general direction. That tree is blocking a little bit. Okay, let us see here. Okay, let's not collide into the Hippos too much, because the Hippos ain't going to be too generous to us. Are the Wolf Riders going to try and run away from the Hippos? That would make sense. It's not exactly a matchup they're going to win here. Let's see, we can have the rest of my army approach the flank of their army, on their infantry army here, so that they don't feel too bold to attack my cavalry. That's some good music there. I've never heard that track before, I think. That must be a Tomb King track. I don't think they've added any music. The modders have successfully added any music to the game yet, but maybe I'm wrong. I know there is somebody working on a new music mod for Cathay, at least, because they weren't happy with the way Cathay's music sounds. Alright, this battle is starting to join. Let's have everybody here focus on one target so we can get it dealt with and get it out. It'll be the goblins in this case. There's no lord or hero for Fandira or the Hashashin to worry about in this circumstance. Alright, let's keep the Wogs in on the move as well. Don't want them to be caught up in an infantry fight for no real good reason. Though the thing that's going to do the most damage to them really is going to be those goblin archers. Let's keep the Desert Riders on the move. Maybe we can run down the Goblin Archers using them. Yeah, we'll try that for a minute. There is one Wogzen who's decided to get caught on a Goblin Wolf Rider. That's mildly annoying. Okay, let's concentrate fire on the Goblin Archers here. And move our Jezzails around. They're doing good damage for now, but they're not entirely necessary here. The Wogzen, we will want to, yeah, keep them on the move. Alright, fight the Goblin Wolf Riders. The Desert Riders, we don't want them to get caught and fought by real infantry. They will not win that match. Only by bullying smaller units like the Wolf Riders will they see any, the Archers, will they see any success. Sadly, there are a good couple of them that have been caught. We will see if I can get a few of them to break through to the other side here. Hippo Riders have been caught in a melee, which is not great, but it is what it is. The Archers, I forgot to tell them to stand their ground, silly me. Because of that, they have now went ahead and decided to pursue the fleeing goblins, which will not work out in their favor. The Wogzen, let's see if we can pull them out so they're not fighting the Orcs. Little bit of an incorrect commitment for me to send them to fight the Wolf Riders. A little bit overkill there, but it is what it is. Back here, there's just going to be, yeah, lots of Arabian Spearmen versus Goblins. The Arabian Spearmen are outnumbered, but they are outclassing the Goblins, so it doesn't matter too much. I think we're getting close enough to a chain rout. It's starting to become realistic territory here. Let's have the Wogzen go for those Goblin Archers so they don't get too pin-cushioned here. Ooh, the Wogzen are getting caught on some trees, which is sad. Makes me very sad to see my sweet little weird one-eyed boys, whatever these things are, get caught up and beat up. Let's try not to get caught in the trees too much here. It's another reason, besides the innate debuff you get for being a large unit in the forest. Beyond that, it's also not great to fight in the forest as a large unit just because you're going to get caught on the geometry. Let's see, let's send Fandira and the Hashashin to get in here and fight these goblins. While back here, the Desert Riders have successfully killed that unit of goblins. So let's send them somewhere where they can be a bit more helpful as well. These Jezzails, let's dedicate to shooting those goblins so that they don't present too much of a threat. Let's see, let's get these Desert Riders, yeah, to go ahead and start taking some shots at these Gobos, and they should rout soon. Yeah, I think we're coming. Yeah, it's a chain rout. There we go. Okay, let's get the Wogs in after these Orc boys. We don't want them to flee. Well, it doesn't matter. There's no harm to letting them run. This is a settlement battle, after all, even though it doesn't look like it. But we do want the XP and the captives. And they'll probably be worth a good bit of it. Unfortunately, I believe captives are automatically always executed whenever you take a settlement, which is not how one would prefer it to be done. Executing captives is the worst of the three options you get after a battle, but them's the ropes, I suppose. That's good enough. We don't need to beat that last orc to death. That's overkill. He can live until he gets executed. Okay, yeah, pretty nasty amount of kills on both the Wogzen and the Desert Rider. The Wogzen actually did not wind up losing a single man, a single Wogzen, which is very nice on Monstrous Cavalry and Monstrous Infantry because they still count as a multi-entity unit, and thus the individual entities will heal back to full at the end of every battle. Comparative to, let's say, a Stegodon or something, a singular monster, a single entity monster, as they say, and as well as Lords and Heroes, which will not re-heal back to full because there's only one of them, and otherwise it would be just bonkers for being able to go from battle to battle to battle without them losing any health between them. Desert Riders lost a dude or two, and I lost a Spearman or two, but pretty good numbers. The only one that is a little annoying is Fandira's health going down by some measure, but I ain't that concerned with it. Okay, let's go ahead and hop in here into Granite Massif, and we will go ahead and occupy it rather than loot it. because that is practically no loot, and I'd rather not have to deal with the immediate downsides that come with looting the place. Now, let's go ahead and see. What do we want built here? Well, we're going to want a garrison as soon as possible. But more units is pretty hard to turn down. And especially considering it's Tomb King units, which are based off the capacity system, which, yes, I do not have to pay upkeep for them. So, yeah, I'm going to take that. Units that I only have to keep with the upkeeps, without upkeep with the unit capacity system, I will take those. Now, let's see here. For Fandira's first 2 skill trees, Route Marcher is pretty well always a necessity. Now, is there anything too crazy up here? Vow to Tut and Connacht will buff the Tomb King units, I see, and increase my diplomatic relations with Numas. Plus 12 armor, plus 6 melee attack, plus 6 fire resistance for Tomb King units is certainly nothing shabby. But for now, I'll pass on it. Basic training is just reduced vigor loss. Certainly not bad for a cavalry-focused army, but I don't have too much cavalry yet to justify it. So we'll go with Inspiring Presence instead. While for our hero here, Lena, our only 1 skill point that we get here, let's see, Stalker, yes, it's campaign line of sight, so who cares? I mean, that's not bad, but I won't take it over buffs. We're going to want to enhance her capabilities in the melee, so that she can help to make sure I don't get wrecked too badly by enemy lords and heroes. Always have to be concerned about that, and it's something that I often forget to be concerned about, and it bites me in the ass. While over here, in the technology, let's see, we will help ourselves to, let's see, either Servants of the Dead, which will buff our Tomb King units and increase our diplomatic relations with Numas. Martyrdom, which will make our units stronger during siege defenses. We're not going to get into too many of those, ideally. Parables of War, which will increase leadership and leadership aura size. Actually, not too shabby. 1001 Knights, increased growth. It's hard to turn down increased growth. It's also hard to turn down increased ambush success chance. But, where's the unit buffs? Yeah, plus 10 armor and melee, plus 5 melee defense for the standard Arabian infantry is pretty great. And that will help it where the few infantrymen I can get in the early game will be able to carry that much more weight. While this, yes, this buffs the Nomad units, plus 5 melee attack and plus 10% speed. Yeah, that's pretty appealing, so I'm going to go for that. So let's go for Parables of War first. I do not know what Leadership plus 3 inherently means. Is it just for heroes and lords, or is it for every unit? If it's for every unit, then that's pretty damn good. We also have access to the Grand Bazaar here. Because I'm playing Fandira, I do not have the ability to purchase other factions ancillaries like Jafar can. Don't know about the Golden Mages. I've never started a Golden Mages. Like, I did start up a Jafar campaign for just 1 turn to compare how his capabilities are to Fandira, because I thought I had read that they had major mechanical differences, and lo and behold, they do. Now, here in the Grand Bazaar, the money we get now is going to be pretty important for investing into our cities, so we won't be picking up any items. Later on, though, that will be nice. Now, let's make sure, before we do end the turn, we absolutely need to recruit some extra units. Let's grab some Camel Lancers. They will fit the nomadic theme. They have reduced upkeep because I am Fandira. And they have Stalk because I'm Fandira. So, some pretty fast cavalry with Stalk. I will absolutely take that. Yes, please. And I have the unit caps mod on. The tabletop caps mod on, excuse me. Which means that I do need to be concerned about whether a unit is core, special, or rare, as I have limits on each of those. We already have a rare unit in the form of the Wogzen, and 2 special units in the form of the Nomad Trackers and the Jezzails. So it's quite nice that the Camel Lancer is a core unit, and thus we don't have to worry about the limit on them, nor them messing with any other unit's limit. So that's very nice. And the last thing you always want to hit before you end your first turn is Diplomacy. Now, let's see. Numas here is definitely one we will want to crack some deals with. Let's get military access, non-aggression pact. He sadly will not agree to a trade agreement, but I'm fine with that. There we go. Got that rocking. Let's see. What have we got for quick deals? Araby being the one who walks the middle of the road means that just about everybody's willing to be at least moderately cool with us. Lady of the Black Grail, it may be advantageous to us for a minute if we make a non-aggression pact with her. I would have to break it and attack her at some point, I feel. But, Khalida, conversely, let's see, she's obviously on very bad terms with Lamia, or excuse me, the Silver Host. So is the Cult of the Black Grail. I don't know that I want to piss off Khalida. At the same time, I mean, the lands east of the World's Edge Mountain, lands east of, well, yeah, the World's Edge Mountains, the Devil's Backbone, what have you, could be profitable to take for myself at some point. For now, I'll make a non-aggression pact with the Cult of the Black Grail, even though it may make a few other people mad. For now, it would cover my eastern border and give me one less thing to worry about, so I'll take it. That might make Karak Zorn mad, it might make Khalida mad, but we'll deal with that when we get there. And we will go ahead and wrap the first turn. Actually, let me check very quickly. How long has this recording gone on for? This is a reasonable point to end the first recording, I think. So, actually, I'll go ahead and wrap this recording up, and I will see you folks next time as we continue the Fandira playthrough.